has kidnapped a group of Christian missionaries in Port-au-Prince. The 16 Americans and 1 Canadian from the Christian Aid Ministries were visiting an orphanage when the gunmen took them hostage. This gang already has another high-profile kidnapping on their rap sheet when earlier this year they kidnapped a group of Catholic priests near the site of this most recent ambush. 400 Mowozo now allegedly seeking $1 million ransom per victim. So here to discuss is Professor of Latin American and Caribbean Studies, Senior Fellow at COHA, Danny Shaw. Danny, can you summarize for us what just happened this weekend in Port-au-Prince with this kidnapping?
Good afternoon, Manila. 17 missionaries, all Americans, many from Oregon, 1 from Canada, including 5 children, were kidnapped this weekend. Katsan Mawozo is a big gang that grows daily in Croix des Bouquets, about half an hour outside of Port-au-Prince. There's been a drastic rise in kidnappings in Haiti under the Jovenel Moise, now Ariel Henry, PHTK, neoliberal dictatorship. Of course, first and foremost, we hope for the safe return of these 17 innocent individuals, though I don't think that all missionaries and mercenaries who've gone to Haiti all these years have been so innocent. But that's perhaps a secondary conversation at this point. So many Haitians have also been kidnapped. Kidnappings are up some 600% this past year. So it is extremely alarming, the everyday violence that the Haitian people confront every time they leave their homes and neighborhoods.
Now, Danny, it sounds like gangs are a huge problem in Haiti. The former U.S. Special Envoy to Haiti, Daniel Foote, publicly went on record saying that gangs run Port-au-Prince. Is that a pretty accurate description?
Everyone should check out Daniel Foote's entire statement and why he resigned against the Biden administration with all of the racism and xenophobia that we saw on the Mexican-American border. Yes, for many young people in Port-au-Prince and across the country, neocolonialism has been so cruel that they see their only way of survival is by either joining the police, arguably Haiti's #1 gang, finding a visa to somehow get to Southern Florida or Brooklyn, New York, or joining one of these gangs in order to survive. So it brings up this historical question about the most cast-off, oppressed layers of society. Can they rebel against the injustice, or will many of them be swept up as agent provocateurs, as the lumpen proletariat, as gang members, and engage in these violent activities? These are young people who perhaps decades ago would have had more opportunities in their homeland, but with grinding economic injustice, unemployment, the Haitian good is at 100 for $1. Many of these young people see no other option but to join gangs like 400 Mawozo.
Now, Danny, you gave us some scary statistics there. I mean, 600% rise. I mean, how much of this uptick in violence, this gang-related terrorism, if you want to call it that, falls around the economic woes of the island? Because when you ask me, somebody from the east side of Los Angeles, it seems to me that that is the case for most gang-related violence and the rise of gangs is when you're coming from a bad neighborhood with poor economic development. That's always the case, isn't it? Children, young people will look for a way to survive by joining these gangs. It's not just a Haiti problem.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Shout out to East LA and to all of Los Angeles's neighborhoods. How many young people that was their only option in life, whether they were from South Central or Watts or Boyle Heights. It's the same thing here in New York City. It's the same thing in Haiti. And I think these numbers are going to increase. The same Jovenel Moise was physically liquidated. He was assassinated on July 7th, but nothing in Haiti has changed. It's still the U.S. Embassy and the troika of evil, the UN and the OAS, that make all of the shots. It's the Haitian people, a population of some 10.5 million, trapped in between. And more young people don't see any options. So when the country is awash with drugs and guns, these young people, young is 10, 11, 12, they pick up these guns, and for the first time in their lives, similar to a young gangbanger in LA, they feel power. They feel like they have some agency because white supremacy and imperialism has robbed Haiti of all agency. So we have to have that bigger context that you've mentioned.
And real quick, I mean, between the two devastating earthquakes, I know they're years apart, but they were both so gigantic in terms of the devastation they caused, the COVID crisis, the assassination of Jovenel Moise, the corruption within the government, whoever is in office, there's economic woes. There are people beginning to call Haiti a failed state. Any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, many people are saying that Haiti is the new Somalia. Haiti sits right upon three geological fault lines. That's an accident of history. But I think the true break that Haiti needs is a break from imperialism, a break from existing in the sphere of U.S. neocolonialism. And when Haiti can rejoin the Bolivarian tide from Peru to Mexico, to Cuba, to Venezuela, to Nicaragua, I think that's where Haiti's true future and where hope lies for Haiti.
We're obviously hoping for the best there. Our friend Danny Shaw, thank you so much for shedding some light on this terrible stuff that's happening in Haiti. Thank you.
Thanks, Manila.